Hello and welcome to the Wolfchase Toyota Insider, the Memphis Tiger Network. I'm Jeff Brightwell alongside Melissa McFerrin. And Coach, we haven't caught up with you in a while since the Christmas break. You're now into conference season. You're now kind of getting close to the halfway point. You're around that third 40% mark. Your last two ball games you have split, and we'll touch on that briefly. A 41-38 win over Cincinnati at home, and then you go on the road to East Carolina, where it's always tough to win ball games, and it was tough to win out there again.
Well, absolutely. East Carolina's a good basketball team. Yeah. They were picked to finish third in our conference. They've got a lot of juniors that are now back for their third season after either transferring in or growing up in the East Carolina system. So they've got good depth. They've got good size. And always a tough place to play and proved to be such this weekend for us.
Been a little difficult scoring the last two ball games. That's something that's hard to put your finger on. We've talked about it. It's being an aggressive type of mentality. It's a shooter's mentality, I guess. It's confidence a lot of the time. You miss one shot and the next one doesn't go. It kind of gets in your head. But it only takes one shot, in the next game to get things swung around.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are a couple different factors here. Number one, we really need a third scorer to really step up. And obviously that we've expected that to be Mariah Rouser. She hasn't been able to find the basket lately. Taylor Williams, a little bit of the same thing. So there's a lot of attention on Ariel. And she's getting double-teamed a lot, and we've got to hit some shots to loosen that up. Additionally, they're sagging a little bit off of Asia and onto Brianna Wright. So now we'd found a formula in the last few games to get Brianna the ball. Well, now that there's a little bit more videotape out, some of that's been taken away. And so Asia's got to step up and be a 17, 18-foot shooter as well. So, again, that elusive balance that we've talked about. And that's something that I think for every basketball team, you don't want to rely on one or two scores. So getting that third and fourth score is important for us. And, yeah, we've had a little bit of trouble putting some points on the board. The great thing is that our defense has continued to hold really well, and so we've got to keep that on lockdown, and then we've got to find a way to put the ball in the basket.
You mentioned Brianna Wright. She got a double-double against Cincinnati, and she's really been coming on. That's one of the things you mentioned. Once we got out of non-conference play into league play, you needed more production out of the post. In particular, Brianna, she was getting the rebounds, playing some defense, but you needed to step up in the scoring production. She's done that, like I said, that double-double against Cincinnati.
She has done that, and that's what she's capable of. That's what Mariah's capable of. That's what Asia's capable of, and we've got to find a way to put it all together on the same night. But Brianna Wright is going to be a factor. You see now defense is really adjusting to what she's capable of doing, and she's a double-double machine, and we need that from her every night. And we'll get this figured out. We've got a little bit of a confidence issue going on right now, but I've still got a lot of belief in those players that are capable of scoring, and we'll figure this out.
Let's talk about the American Conference a little bit. We'll talk about your standings and everything in just a second. But you look at the American overall this year. Last year, of course, very good. You had 2 1 seeds in Connecticut and Louisville. We've lost one of the teams in Louisville. Rutgers has moved on. We had the 2 NCAA teams. But you look at the American this year, you've got 2 ranked teams because USF's moved into the top 25. Tulane now is in the top 40 in the RPI. East Carolina's a little bit on the outside looking in after they had that little skid to start the conference season. Now, they played 4 of the tougher teams to start the league, but you're looking at the American this year potentially having more NCAA teams than it did a year ago.
Well, I think USF is definitely that team that we all expect could be in the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of basketball to be played yet, so it's going to depend how USF competes with probably Connecticut their last time around, how the Tulane USF games go. But yeah, those are top 40 RPI teams. East Carolina's in the top 70, so they're certainly a team to be contended with. But it's interesting because even with the change, our conference, I looked yesterday, is still ranked as the 6th or 7th best conference in the country. So not much has changed. A little bit of the names have changed, so we may not have that real elite second national team, but USF is right on the verge of being that team.
Would you think the conference as a whole, from top to bottom, of course, Connecticut head and shoulders, they're Connecticut last year, the 2 1 seeds, but overall, from a 1st to 11th, maybe a little bit tighter this year?
I think because we don't have that Louisville who's up there competing with Connecticut, I think if you go 3 through 7, there's probably a little bit more parity, or 3 through 8. I would think there's a little bit more competitive balance, 3 through 8. So, but like I said, we're 7 games into the conference season. Yeah. We've still got 11 games to play. So there's going to be a lot to be determined over that course of time.
Talk about your spot right now, 3 and 4 in the league. So that's 11 conference games to play. Not quite at the halfway point, a little over a third of the way. What's kind of a report card right now?
Well, Jeff, I think we're right where maybe we expected to be, and right where maybe the league expected us to be. They're going to be, as we talked about, that 4 through 7 space is going to be highly contested. We probably, the 1 or 2 games that I could talk about would be the Temple game that we lost at home by 1, and then the Tulsa game. If we had won those 2 games, then we would be sitting in a better position than we are right now. But those are the determining games. Temple is right in that 3 through 7 placing, and so is Tulsa, right in that 3 through 7. So it's going to be incredibly important going down the stretch that we win our home games and that we beat the teams on the road that we would expect. And if we're capable of doing that, then we're going to finish exactly where we'd like to in this conference. If we can't go on the road and win a game or 2, then there's a chance that we'll be slightly disappointed. But I think this team is continuing to grow and mature. We're a little disappointed in ourselves right now because those were the games that we were hoping to come away with, but we can't be too disappointed because around every corner is another game that's a difference maker.
You get no midweek games this week, so a chance to get in the gym, get ready for Houston. That'll be a big home game coming up Saturday. It's 2 o'clock. That'll be not only on the radio but the American Digital Network, so a chance to showcase your ball club Saturday.
That's exactly right. So we're going to try to get some shooting in. We're going to try to tidy up some of our execution. Again, we feel pretty good about our defense. Coaches are on the road recruiting this week, but we'll get back in the gym on Thursday, and we will be ready for Houston. They're an energized basketball team. They're under a new head coach. They're playing with a lot of tempo and a lot of intensity. They're switching up defenses. So they're trying to play ugly a little bit, keep the scores low, and see if they can't come away with the win.
Kind of remind me, we talked about on your radio show that they remind me a little bit of the first year you were here. He's inherited some players. He's got some talent. Might not have the full depth of personnel that he wants yet. They're trying to gain his trust. He's trying to gain their trust. But remember the first year you had a 12, 13-win team, but it was a team that played very hard. You knocked a couple of teams out of postseason that year, especially late when you came on. That makes for a very dangerous team.
It does, and we refer back to that team often because that was a really it was a hard year, but it was a very enjoyable team and a very rewarding team because you brought back some memories that I'd even forgotten, that we knocked Southern Miss out of the conference championship that year on the road and the postseason. Amazingly, not that we wish anybody ill, but that were good things for our team. And they could be exactly there where they are buying into his system. And but we're going to hope that our team also is we're solid in our system as well. We've got a belief in our system. We've just got to execute a little bit better and put some points on the board.
And then you travel to Cincinnati next week for another one of these quick turnarounds.
Quick turnaround, but again, that's a team that is a little bit dangerous. We talked about them being young. They were by no means an easy team to handle here on our home court. So we're going to have to play very well. Our defense is going to have to be solid. And again, we've got to find a 3rd and 4th score, and so we'll spend a little bit of time this week because that's something that's going to be critical as we go on the road.
All right, Coach, as always, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
That is head coach Melissa McFerrin. I'm Jeff Brightwell. This has been the Wolfchase Toyota Insider on the Memphis Tiger Network.
Ariel. Emma. My name is Amber Holmes, and I have eyes in the back of my head. Come watch me set up my team Saturday, January 24th against Houston. Brianna.